If you're ready to start learning or reading tarot, this video is free. My name is Megan and I am a professional tarot reader. I'm going to walk you through 3 very simple steps on how to start reading and learning tarot, but most importantly, have fun with it. Okay, so step number 1, and the most fun step, of course, is find a tarot deck. Let's talk about deck, where to buy, the process, and all of that. So the first thing is, as I said before, you have to have fun with this. Like, give yourself a Saturday afternoon, give yourself some time, go shopping with friends, go explore. If you do have any fun like crystal magic shops around you, I do highly recommend checking those places out because they will be full of different options. So there is a myth within the tarot community that you are supposed to be gifted your first tarot deck. Personally, I do not succumb to that myth. I bought my first tarot deck all by myself and I've been reading ever since then. Curious and you're ready and you want to start learning how to read tarot, you do not have to wait for someone to gift you a deck. You can actually go buy your own and have so much fun with it. So I'm going to tell you about my very first tarot deck and give you a few tips in buying your own. So I took myself out one day and I decided I want to buy a tarot deck. I don't know why, but here I am today. Anyways, I went to a local bookstore. I stood there sifting through decks. I'm not going to lie, probably for at least 25 minutes. But after that 20 minutes was about to be over, I saw this one and immediately I knew this was the deck for me. Sometimes they say that with crystals as well. If you're new to buying crystals, is to buy something that really like speaks out to you. So I would offer the same advice when you go shopping for a deck. Find something that you are just automatically so drawn to, whether it's the colors, whether it's the imagery, that is the deck for you. So this was my very first deck. This is the True Heart Intuitive Tarot by Rachel True. The reason that I personally bought this deck was I just thought the colors were so beautiful, but I do actually want to say this is an amazing deck for beginners. The reason I say that is it has an amazing guidebook. When we're new to learning tarot, there can be a lot of information, so to have a massive book that goes through all the cards in such detail is key. Another thing I really like about this deck is it is high vibe. You may hear people saying they're scared of tarot and so on and so forth. There's nothing scary about tarot, but if you do want something that is a little bit more on the positive side, this deck is key. It really reinforces the positive aspects of all of the cards, which can be helpful when we are a beginner. A few other things I like about this deck personally is just the cards are really nice and solid and big. The imagery is beautiful. So if you do want a suggestion from me about a beginner's deck, I would definitely recommend this one. Okay, so of course I highly recommend you finding a deck that calls to you, is very visually appealing to you, but I do want to talk about something called the Rider-Waite. So this is a classic Rider-Waite deck. It just so happens to be in my favorite color, which is pink. Oh, that is so funny. We have the very first card in the tarot deck on the bottom, the Fool. Okay, so the reason why I do suggest eventually getting a Rider-Waite tarot deck is because this is the most popular, this is a hard word to say, standardized. Please just cut to a bunch of clips of me trying to say standardized. Oh, did I say it? Standardized? Anyways, the most standardized decks out there. So the Rider-Waite is very commonly used with beginners and professionals, and the pictures and the imageries are very, very helpful. So with that being said, it's a much easier way to start learning, integrating, memorizing, and getting to know the cards based on the imagery rather than having to sift through a guidebook, remember names, and remember descriptions, and so on and so forth. So with that being said, let's take a look at the Five of Cups. Something that's really important with tarot is using our intuition. And the Rider-Waite imagery and scenes, the card's very easy to interpret intuitively rather than like having to use the guidebook. If you're here and you've never heard of the Five of Cups, please go into the comments right now and tell me what you see based on that imagery. If I'm in a professional reading and I say to someone, you pulled the Five of Cups, they are going to be like, oh, what are you talking about? Of course, we have the ability to explain, but sometimes I actually like to explain my cards through imagery. Let's use our Five of Cups as the perfect example. What do you see when you're looking at this card? Most notable thing is we have this person, this figure, head down. Clearly they're upset, they are grieving, and they're focusing on 3 cups that are toppled over. You take another glance at the photo, you will see that there are 2 other cups behind them that they can't see that are right up. Are working with 78 cards in the deck, so being able to use imagery to ingrain it within our brains is really helpful. I feel like I kind of bypassed saying that we were in step 2 already. Step 2 is about learning how to interpret our cards. Okay, let's do a fun little experiment here. I am going to sit here until I find the 5 of Cups, and I'm going to show you the imagery. I will of course cut this clip. Then I want us to see if there's any difference between the Rider-Waite imagery as well as this imagery. 9 of Cups, Strength, Sun, 2 of Cups, Wheel of Fortune, Lovers. Imagine if it is literally the last card on the bottom. Oh, here it is. Okay, so for someone who knows tarot and knows the meaning behind the cards, I can look at this card, understand this imagery in relation to the Rider-Waite imagery. But in my own personal opinion, if I didn't know tarot, this imagery would scare me a little bit more. We have multiple crying eyes. She's in a bathtub. She only has one eye. Her 3, it's really focused on the negatives here, whereas the 2 cups are kind of like hidden behind. So all this to say, imagery is so important. So ultimately why imagery is so important is because it's tied to our intuition, and our intuition is tied to our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is how we actually feel about things and the world and dynamic. When we can explain things based on a feeling that we see, this is a structure of an idea of what the card is supposed to mean, which it of course very well can relate to. It's allowing us to access our subconscious feelings about the card and what it actually means to us more rather than maybe what it means to someone else. Okay, so for our 3rd and final step for today, I of course will be back with more tips. It is learn through teaching. Every day I got my tarot deck out, I pulled cards for myself, and I read them from the guidebook. Do you want to know how many within a year I actually kind of like integrated into understanding the card? Honestly, out of 78 cards, I would intuitively say like maybe 12. So absolutely, when I started reading for my friends, I would open the guidebook, I would say, okay, you pulled the Tower. The Tower means abrupt change, release, spiritual epiphany, and transformation. And then we would talk about what was going on in their life, and therefore I was able to kind of remember their situation with the Tower, and when the Tower would come up again, I would be reminded of that situation and kind of be able to make correlations. It wasn't until I started practicing on my friends, my family, your pets, that I actually started integrating things. We do so much better when we verbally process or we teach other people things to actually ingrain it within us. So I had met a person and they had told me that I had been reading tarot for lifetimes. At this point, I had only been reading tarot for myself for maybe about a year. And to hear them say, oh, you've been reading tarot for lifetimes, you're going to continue doing this, I was like, no way, what are you talking about? Like, I'm afraid to read for anyone but myself. Something happened and I suddenly kind of started practicing on friends, practicing on family, practicing on pets, very slowly gained the confidence to start reading for others. So with that being said, get out there, start practicing on yourself, start practicing on your friends, your family, your pets. I absolutely cannot wait to see you guys crush it. Any and all questions about tarot, please put them in the comments below. Any themes you want me to talk about, I'm obsessed with tarot. I will talk about it forever. I will be back very soon with more tips and maybe even some teaching steps. Let me know if that's something that you guys are interested in. Also, please connect with me on Instagram. And if you are interested in booking a personal tarot reading with me, please message me on Instagram.